Yeah, hi everybody. So thanks Hande for the great session and all the speakers of the 3 days. So I'm just gonna close it out real quick. I'm gonna hurry up so we don't run too much over here. But since I'm unable to talk without slides, I'm just gonna share a few slides just very briefly. Just going to really quick again. Thank the NIH for funding that was already mentioned for this U01 project in which we develop OntoloBridge that you heard about. And I also have to thank again the organizers, in particular Sam, who did all of this work, prepared all the materials and everything, and the session moderators, and of course also the speakers, right? But you know, anybody who organized the meeting knows that this is a huge amount of work. So I put together like a really brief summary. It's certainly not comprehensive, but what we heard about: ontology mapping, algorithms, software, evaluation, standards, automation, and sharing, ontology synergy, harmonization, fairness, right? Ontology applications and use, so industry perspective, ecosystems, community and end user needs and requirements, medical applications, rare disease, genomics, data sharing, compliance. Ontology development on content, you know, various ontologies presented, and software tools, of course, for annotation, mapping, design patterns, fair data management, term requests, right? So I wanted to take the chance to do a real quick like summary of this breakout sessions. So one was on user requirements, right? I'm not gonna read out everything, but we're gonna post slides, but it's that a centralized resource like such as bioportal of all ontologies is important, but it's difficult to achieve, you know. Of course, there is the need for funding, right? And human resources is always a constraint. Develop guidelines or evaluation metrics that suggest use of ontologies, like a little bit similar to essay guidance manual. Who knows that from NCATS? We should have an ontology guidance manual, and there's like a proposal from Chris. And you know, we just discussed in the chat education, right? In governance body, and you know, there's also this like challenge, you know, public, private ontologies. You know, what's pre-competitive, what can be competitive? There can be barriers there. You know, and then in academia, in particular, we have this like challenge, you know, of acknowledging credit individuals, right? So who does the work? You know, and mapping things and all of that. A lot of this work, you know, in ontologies is like very foundational, but it's not necessarily very glamorous, right? I mean, it can be glamorous work, but most of it is like, you know, just a lot of work, and it's being used and can be impactful, but it's, you know, not a lot of science papers typically, unless of course you have something like gene ontology, right? So. And generally better user end user tools are needed, right? I think that's pretty clear. I was happy to see that OntoloBridge like was pretty well perceived, since, you know, obviously this is our own project, this is our kind of, you know, this was one of the drivers to have this conference. But summarizing from Hande about mapping, right? So there were a bunch of discussions about granularity, applications of ontologies, how is this affecting the mappings, how is the level of formality, right, affecting mappings. You know, how can this be resolved? How can the various ontologies and the mappings then lead to some kind of, you know, better overall solutions? Interest in like kind of a mapping platform, you know, like this SSSOM platform, better ways to exchange mappings, voting for them, kind of like a forum, you know, keeping the bigger picture in mind. And then the tools, right, BUMA, how it be used, and then potentially OntoloBridge could be extended to include mapping in addition to vocabulary, term requests and term additions, such that then that expertise of those who request terms can also be used, you know, in mappings. And then we talked about ecosystems with Mark, Samantha, and myself, you know, and I think one of the conclusions, there's definitely still a lot of fragmentation and lack of standardization. You know, in particular, like Mark expressed it, for a community that tasks itself is the creation and implementation of standards, right? So, and one of the reasons is this chasm of different approaches and philosophies So perhaps realism versus models, upper ontologies versus mapping, different languages, different approaches to provide opportunities and challenges, but different approaches, of course, they provide opportunities and challenges. So I say this all without any judgment, right? Or particular preferences, right? And now we see increased collaboration and combining of those approaches. Integration and harmonization is hard, right? In particular, if you have fast evolving technologies in the age of big data. And there seems to be a need for integrating those existing ecosystems of ontology repositories with tools that do the mapping and using the ontologies, right, to better take advantage of end user domain expertise when we integrate map ontologies and extend them, right? So this is probably something quite important for the users, right? And then maybe this could be a future direction for our tools. So with that, I am ending. I hope this was a like somewhat adequate summary. And I want to give you the contacts, you know, myself, Mark, Samantha, primary organizer, Hande, and Asia. So I think this will be available, hopefully in a way so that we don't receive too much spam. And then the materials. So conference materials, including abstract slides, talks, will be posted on the GitHub site. So you kind of just need to remember OntoloBridge WSBO and you will find it. It should be there by the end of the month. Please keep an eye out for a survey from Samantha. And then if you can complete it, it would be really fantastic so we get feedback, and perhaps then we can have another meeting in a year or so about that. You know, it seems that it was quite a bit of interest, and I think we could continue it, probably improve it further. And then please send the slides to Samantha at Collaborative Draft if you haven't already. So that we can post the slides, and then again, for those who have agreed, we will also post the videos. So with that, I end and want to thank everybody again so much for making this a great meeting.